Продовжуємо роботу в Українському кризовому медіа-центрі. Запрошую до слова полковника Олександра Мотузяніка, речника Міністерства оборони України з питань АТО.
Колеги, вітаю всіх. До вашої уваги традиційне.
Now, information about the events that happened in the anti-terror zone and the Lugansk sector. Yesterday, enemy provocations were in the evening. The occupants carried out 3 armored provocations in the direction of Ukrainian armed forces near Krymska, and 2 of them were with the use of mortars. Also, the militants delivered fire at the direction of Tryokhizbenka with the use of grenade launchers. And the Donetsk sector, yesterday, the absolute majority of shellings delivered by the enemy happened between 6 p.m. and midnight. Places of firing activity of the enemy are traditional. These are Gorlakov perimeter, suburbs of Avdiivka, and the region of the Donetsk airport. Zaitseva, the militants delivered fire with the use of weaponry of APC. In other parts of front line, in the Donetsk sector, the occupants used small arms and grenade launchers. And Ukrainian forces returned fire in response to the most grave provocations by the militants. And yesterday in the Donetsk sector, there were 10 shellings delivered by Russian occupation forces. And the Mariupol sector, at night, Russian occupation forces delivered short mortar shelling in Gnutova. After this, it was calm along the Mariupol sector front line, and the military actions restarted at about 3 p.m. Then the militants delivered 2 short armored provocations in Pavlopil, and then 1 in Krasnogorivka and 1 in Vodyane. In these incidents, heavy weapons was not used by the enemy. During the last 24 hours, as a result of military actions, no Ukrainian serviceman was killed. 2 servicemen of armed forces of Ukraine were wounded. In the framework of SBU program that is called They Wait For You Back Home, 2 former militants of so-called DPR returned to peaceful life. In 2014, the resident of Slavyansk, under the influence of Russian propaganda, joined the militant group. The man was involved in serving at checkpoints of the militants. Then he was a driver and assistant of one of the commanders of the militants. He saw all the essence of Russian world with its looting and abuse of local population. This man decided to leave the ranks of the militants. But he couldn't do this at once because so-called commander have taken documents of this man, and this man had to follow the orders of the militants. And the second resident of Donetchina in 1914 was also participating in the ranks of the militants, and he controlled so-called public order. And after these territories were freed, these men fled the militants and were hiding from justice. And the SBU program helped them to return to peaceful life. Dear friends, now brief information about training of our detachments. Tactical training of 11th Detached Motorized and Infantry Brigade with live fire exercises happened in Chernigivshina. Also, in this training participated the detachments of Air Forces, of Armed Forces of Ukraine, Army Aviation of Land Forces, detachments of Artillery and Operative Support, and also State Border Service of Ukraine and National Guard of Ukraine. And in the course of training, they successfully rehearsed the tactical tasks such as repel of attack of imaginary enemy, offensive, assault across water barrier, seizure of favorable positions, and destruction of personnel and equipment of the militants. Also, the servicemen of the National Guard helped to transport humanitarian help from Latvia to Luganshina. 3 trucks with 10 tons of textile materials, warm clothes, boots, and toys were brought to Popasna town and to Svetlichne and Nizhny villages. And further, local power will distribute this freight, and this is the third action in 2 years from our Latvian friends. Also, servicemen of National Guard hand out at checkpoints a free newspaper that is called Donbass Inform. Each week, they distribute 150 to 200 copies of this paper that is filled with truthful and interesting information for the residents of Donetsk and Lugansk oblasts. At the same time, in Luganshina, they paid tribute to the defenders of Ukraine who died. Staff officers and civil and military cooperation group officers took part in the ceremony to commemorate temporarily unknown soldiers who are buried in the cemetery of Chmirivka village. In September 2014, in Vesela Gora village, Tarabylsky region, in Lugansk region, Ukrainian servicemen trapped an ambush and 28 servicemen died. And in October the same year, they were buried in Chmirivka cemetery. Each year, their battle buddies and school children and volunteers and civil activists pay tribute to their memory and share their memories about the battles in the Lugansk sector. Do you have questions? Please ask. If there are no, thank you.